Really on the plug, really on the plug. Take one, take two, but three should get you where you wanna be.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Damon with another episode of the Mariana Trench, episode 7 podcast. Here we are doing it, taping early this morning, headed into the office as promised, dropping new content for Mariana Trading. And today, what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about trusting the process. Trusting the process. Okay, so what does this mean? What does trusting the process mean? I think one of the best ways to talk about a principle, a maxim of how you should live, something that you should absorb into your body to make sure that when the pressure is on, you can actually use it. What is the best way to absorb one of these things that you should live by? It's by example. And so one of the most recent examples, last night, the Philadelphia 76ers went on to the second round of the playoffs, something that they have not done in years. And for the last several years or more, they have absolutely sucked. They have absolutely sucked. They have taken L's. I'm talking about the NBA. If there's non-sports fans out there, the 76ers out of Philadelphia, they have sucked. You know what I'm saying? They cut cap space, got rid of all their good players, and basically said, you know what? We are just going to lose and lose and lose so that we can get lottery picks. We can get lottery draft picks and pick some of the best players to be on our team. And that is exactly what they did. They have Ben Simmons, who is arguably the rookie of the year for the NBA. Joel Embiid, 7 foot. He can play like a big man, but he has handles. And they have a couple other players. And I don't want to make this a basketball conversation, but the point is that they took so many L's so that they could get the W. And every time somebody questioned, why are you doing this? Why does the ownership allow you to, the general manager and just the strategy, why are they allowing this to even exist? Just taking all these losses. But you know what? I think overall, the fans of Philly supported, this process. Yeah, it hurt along the way, but if you listen to that crowd when they won their final game last night to go on to the second round of the Eastern Conference NBA playoffs, you could say that all those losses were worth it, because there's a lot of teams that did not take that many L's and have just been average this whole time and, did not go on to the next round. And so last night, right? So I was thinking about it. I was like, man, there's something deeper in here that I think people can take away from what the 76ers did. And you have to try to just absorb that into yourself, because I think it's very, very important. And especially if you have your sights set on great things, if you have your sights set on, going to the next round of the playoffs in whatever realm of life that you live in, I think you have to trust the process. Trust the process. And they kept saying this over and over again, the 76ers organization, trust the process, trust the process. We would know what we're doing. And let's break it down a little bit. Part of this whole thing is understanding the system that you're working within. You know what I'm saying? In the NBA, the more you lose, the higher probability you have of getting a draft pick, a top NBA pick. So that means you get to pick 1, 2, 3, which means that every year you get to choose one of the top players in the country to be on your team. And especially for a league that is centered around youth and athleticism, and if the game is changing as fast as it has been changing recently, where teams are going smaller, teams are going for the 3 ball a lot more, and where each player on the floor needs to be able to defend all positions and handle the rock. You have to look at what system that you're in and gear your strategy towards that. And so if the 76ers had said, you know what, I'm going to just keep trying to win with mediocre players, they would not be where they are today, because they would have continued to draft mediocre players as a mediocre team with, average number of losses, and would never have been able to compete for those top draft picks. And so I think that is something that, is very interesting. You have to understand the system that you're in. And sometimes within that system, you're going to have to take L's. You're not going to be able to just go straight to the top. And so if I use myself as an example, I've been in roles where, I got to a certain point within the role, within the organization, and I could have stayed there, but I felt like, in this example, that would be like the 76ers just staying with their average players and saying, you know what, it'll be fine, things will get better, I'll be able to, one of these mid-level players will be able to deliver for us in the long run. But maybe that strategy is not true. And so I've taken L's. I've left, generally good paying roles with, an organization that most people, would want to be in, because I saw a bigger vision for myself. And then on top of that, going back to school, after my bachelor's to get a master's degree, and to invest that additional time on top of working a full-time role, that's like taking L's, because you're not going out, you're not able to do everything you want to do socially, you can't do everything that you want to do within your relationships, you can't always be on line with your family and knowing every little thing that's going on, because in your world you're staying focused. And so I've been doing a lot of these things, but then when I watched the game, you know what I'm saying, it just reminded me that all I was doing was trusting the process. And so then I think the a second aspect to that, and so like I was saying, I think a second aspect to that is the belief in yourself along the way, and that things will eventually come to fruition. And it's almost like, if you don't believe in yourself along the way while you're going through your own personal process, I feel like that's a version of hell. That's a version of hell where you are not doing what you want to do for yourself to make yourself feel the best as possible, because basically what you're doing is delaying gratification for a future reward, but then at the same time you're not believing that you're going to get that reward. And so one of my things that I've always had in my head is that if I were the person I want to be, say 10 years from now, and I was going to tell myself today, where that would be, and if I truly believe in my heart the positive, successful place that I envision, that guy, that Damon, would tell me today, hey bruh, just chill out, just trust the process, do what you need to do, because one day you're going to be standing in my, in this case, future Damon's shoes, looking back saying, it was all worth it. It was all worth it. And so for me today, trusting my own process, taking the L's in the short term to get the W in the long term, those L's can't be taken as L's. You know, when you have to say no to somebody for something that you know would be fun, that you know that you would want to do in the short term because of that future reward, you know, you can't take that as an L. If you have to take a job that is lower paying so that you can get that experience, so that you can get that knowledge to then flip later for a much higher return on investment, that's not an L, that's an investment. And so, you know, throughout this whole thing, you know, trusting the process, that's what I just thought of that last night, and I was like, you know what, that's what I'm going to talk about on the podcast tomorrow. And so it's just really, it's just a really interesting thought, and I just wonder if anybody else out there has had any similar experiences, or you know, what do you think about this idea of trusting the process? I personally feel like the younger I was, the more I would you know, want to go for the immediate gratification. But then you get to this point and you're like, you know what, I've done a lot of things that I want to do, but what do I really have to show for it? You know? And so it kind of causes you to question that type of mindset where you just allow yourself to, you know, live for the moment. And I know like a lot of popular culture kind of promotes that YOLO, you know what I'm saying? You only live once. But I feel like the younger you are, if you can adopt this, you can get that W, you know what I'm saying, a lot sooner than if you just allow things to happen. And so you got to get that vision of who you are now and where you want to be in the future, and then, you know, decide on a path to get there, and then just really trust your own process. And I'm just speaking from my own personal experience here, but like I said, I'm really looking for some other examples from anybody out there that's listening. What do you guys think about trusting the process? You know, what do you think about the 76ers? What examples do you guys have of, you know, maybe some of those struggles in the short term where you know, thought you were taking an L? How did you handle that mentally? And then, you know, did you get the reward on the back end? If you did, how did that go for you? And if, you know, things didn't turn out a certain way, or maybe they were serendipitous and you got a different type of reward back, how did that work for you? You know, saying much love, everybody. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. This is Damon at Mariana Trading. You know, check out the brand. This podcast is all about just, you know, self-improvement and, you know, whatever new things this develops into. But, you know, I just made a promise for 2018 that I was going to, you know, drop content consistently, keep growing the brand, keep growing my personal brand. Check me out at Damon Inc, Damon Inc on Instagram. And, you know, let's just grow together, because I do see big things in the future. Done a lot up until this point, but you know what I'm saying, there's always more to come. There's always more to come, and that's something that I truly believe every day. And I just want to be able to pass that on to anybody out there. And so trust the process. Let me know what you guys think. All right, one love. Like, comment, subscribe. This is Damon at Mariana Trading. Peace.